Hello and welcome to this video. On this video, I'm going to be trying to correct a code that is happening on my 2001 Toyota Camry. This is a Japanese production model, V6, and the code is a P0128 error, which means that the engine's not coming up to temperature fast enough on the coolant. So to fix this issue, I'm going to install a new thermostat. And there's also a sensor I purchased that goes to the ECU. It tells it what the temperature is on the engine. You're going to need this little rubber piece, and we'll put all these part numbers in the description and where you can buy them. And then I got the Toyota non-diluted antifreeze. They comes in two different versions. One's half and half and one's non-diluted. I have some purified drinking water, which is low mineral, but it's not distilled, not deionized. Lots of things say not to use distilled or deionized, so I'm going to use purified drinking water. Also, I have a container for my waste coolant, and I'm going to recycle that when I'm done. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over and drain the radiator itself, and I'll show you that here. Okay, a couple things before we get started in draining the radiator is I'm going to disconnect my battery, and also I'm going to get a new glove, I guess. You want to make sure your engine's not hot when you work on it, because we don't want to have any kind of pressure release, because you're going to be taking the cap off over here that's on the passenger side. It's where you add antifreeze or coolant. And so the drain petcock for the radiator is on the passenger side down at the very bottom. And you can take like a piece of hose and stick it on there so you can get the water to go through the plastic cover down there and into a proper receptacle. So we're gonna get the radiator drained by taking this cap off, opening the petcock, letting the water all out, and then we're going to move to the front drain plug and do that after that. To drain the front of the engine, there's a petcock down here. I'll go underneath the exhaust manifold here. And it's got a 10 millimeter bolt in it. And you loosen that, and then the water drains out there. So you'll need like a drain hose, something like this, to put on there to go into your drain bucket. So that's what we'll do. We'll get that drained. And then I'm going to take out the thermostat housing. Now that I've drained the coolant, I'm going to go ahead and replace the sensor that goes to the ECU. I'm going to replace it proactively. And there's two sensors located here on this side where you add the coolant in. And one of them goes to the gauge cluster. That's the one towards the front of the engine. The one in the rear, it's right here, and you unplug it by pushing on this plug. And it's got two wires coming out of it. And the sensor looks something like this. I just replaced it. This is the old one. And you're going to use a little bit of thread sealant just around the threads here. So I'm using some high temperature Permatex thread sealant on it. Again, just around the threads here so it won't leak out. So I installed the new one, snugged it down, and now I'm ready to plug it in, and that part's done. Now I'm going to move to getting out the thermostat itself. To get the thermostat housing loose, I'm going to have to take this. There's a pipe that goes from the front here where this hose goes all the way to the thermostat housing. It's underneath here, so I'm going to need to take some of these things loose like this and move them kind of out of the way. So I'm going to start moving all this out of the way, unplugging everything, and then I'm going to take this 12 millimeter bolt out, and that should allow me to wiggle this hose free. And so I'll get that done, and then we'll come back and work on the next thing. I've taken out the 12 millimeter bolt that holds this piece into place, this pipe, and moved everything over as far as I could. And now what you have to do is you have to, and it's pretty snug in there, you have to pull it out and work it out. And what I did was I twisted it and worked it out. And now I'm able to pull it back so I can free the thermostat housing itself. So that part's done. Now I'm going to work on the thermostat housing. I'm ready to pull the housing out, but I want to take this bolt loose that holds these cables and stuff on here. So I'm going to go ahead and use a 10 millimeter wrench and get that all loose. And then the housing itself has three 10 millimeter nuts holding it in place, and those will come off next. Now you shouldn't have to take this loose because this top hose that goes above the housing goes directly into the engine there. So we shouldn't have to take that loose. So I'll get this loose, and then we'll come back and we'll pull those three nuts loose and pull the housing loose. See how that goes. There's a cable tray that attaches to the bottom of this thermostat housing, and I took the nut off that holds it in place here and moved it out of the way. I also there's a nut further back that allowed me to get enough flexibility to move it out and move it out of the way. And so now I'll take the nuts off that hold the thermostat housing in place. I don't know who designed this crazy design, but it's pretty messed up. All right, so we'll move forward. So I pulled the thermostat housing off, and I'm going to tell you how I did it because we really couldn't get the camera in there while my hands were in there. So I reached around from underneath in the back, and I filled it with paper towels down here so if it leaked anything, it would not drip down. So that was very successful, actually. And then I took the 3 nuts loose, as I mentioned earlier, and using this hand, I pried it down a little bit. We put a plastic tool in there so it wouldn't damage the area. And then I pulled it up, and it was able to break the seal and come loose. So I pulled the housing off, and I'm going to show you how what that looks like here in a minute separately, because I'm going to put the new thermostat in. But I just wanted to talk about how I took the 3 nuts off, didn't have to take these other hoses or anything loose, and just simply used a pry tool to give me the leverage to be able to pop it down a little bit, pry tool in, pop it up, and it came right out. So now I'm ready to clean up the housing itself. I'll show you that, and we'll put the new thermostat in, and we'll reassemble it. So here's the housing I took off, and I'm going to install this new thermostat, and here's the new gasket I got for it. I put a little bit of Krytox grease on my finger, so I'm going to put a little grease on this rubber gasket so that it helps provide a little bit of lubrication there. You don't need much. I'm going to install it on the new thermostat. And one of the important things to keep in mind is there's a bleed pin on the thermostat, and it's right here, and that allows air that's trapped inside to get out of the system. So you have to make sure that bleed pin is facing up on the Toyota. That's because the air floats upward and you want it to be able to get out. So if you look at the original one, bleed pin is up. And I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to clean up the housing with some isopropyl alcohol, and then I'm going to come back and install this. So I've cleaned up my housing real well in here and where the other pipe goes in. And this is basically going to go in this kind of relationship here where this is up and that pin right there is going to go up. So I'm going to go insert this into the engine and put this housing on and tighten the nuts. And I'm going to put some Loctite on them. And I think the torque spec is like 69 inch-pounds, but that's only, what, 5 foot-pounds or so. So I'm just going to barely snug them up because I'm going to put Loctite on them, so we really won't need anything more than that. I put everything back together the way it came off. My only concern was on this pipe where it leads into the thermostat housing. I really would have liked to have replaced that beveled rubber O-ring type thing. The one that came off looked pretty good, but it was a bit swollen up, so I put some Krytox grease on it since it won't back off because the bolt holds this in, so it's going to stay in. I'm hoping that it won't leak. So I've closed my petcock and everything. Now I'm ready to start adding liquid. What I'm going to do is pour a half gallon of water in and then a half gallon of antifreeze. And then I'll mix the water and antifreeze in the antifreeze container so it's half and half. And keep adding till it's full. And then what I'll do after that is I'll start the engine and run it and turn the heater on so it's full blast. So I can get the water circulating, and then I'm going to try to decavitate it by taking it out for a good drive and with the heater on, and make sure that I have filled the water all the way up. And then I'll let it cool down, and I will take the cap back off and add water as necessary so I can get all the air bubbles out of the system, because it will get probably cavitated. So really that's all there is. It really wasn't that hard of a job. It's just very stupid design. You'll see if you have to do this yourself. And you don't have to pull that much stuff off. So that's all there is to this video. Thank you for watching.